A client recently reached out to us after watching our YouTube channel, and one of their specific questions was about traffic. It was, where can I live where I'm not hearing a lot of traffic, a lot of road noise? So I'm gonna kind of break apart the map and show you different areas. So the first area is the Animas Valley. So that is the area north of downtown Durango. And it's really stunning, really pretty area. The Animas River is running right through it. You've got these beautiful ridges on both sides, and it's an incredible area to live. But you really hear traffic just about throughout the entire valley, almost no matter where you live. Now, it really does vary though. So it's County Road 250 on the east side, then County Road 203 on the west side, then going right through the middle of it is Highway 550. So you've got three different decent sized roads, and Highway 550 of course is going to have the most traffic. And so even that $10 million house that was just recently listed that's off of County Road 250, really stunning road, stunning area, is still going to hear a little bit of traffic. So it really kind of varies. Where I live is I live off of Highway 550 in the valley, but I'm a little bit below Highway 550. The subdivision kind of drops down just a little bit, and so you don't hear quite as much traffic. You just hear just a little bit. And at the same time, there's a house that's kind of off back behind our house, so further away from the highway, but they're not kind of dropped down as much. They have kind of a straight shot to hearing it, so they actually hear more traffic. So it really varies. And one thing I want to mention before getting too nuanced into this is just reach out to me, give me a call, text, email. I'm more than happy to walk a specific subdivision or property for you and show you, okay, hey, this is what the traffic sounds like here, really kind of give you a breakdown of what it sounds like. And now we're gonna actually jump over to the west part of Durango. Durango West is a specific subdivision I'm gonna jump into. And this client that reached out was actually asking me specifically about Durango West. So Durango West is a decent sized subdivision, really beautiful subdivision, walking, biking trails throughout it. They've got a playground, some great amenities. And what I found is as I toured a property for them that was fairly close to the road, you could hear a decent amount of traffic. It wasn't crazy, but an amount that they weren't comfortable with. But then as you go back into the further part of the subdivision, as you go back into the subdivision, you're gonna hear way less traffic, and there are gonna be homes where you don't hear any traffic at all unless it's a semi truck coming by. So that's the west. There are several other subdivisions that have big acreage properties where you're basically gonna hear nothing. Subdivisions like Durango Ridge Ranch, we just sold a property that is just over 2.1 million there, and they really couldn't hear any traffic at all. They were tucked back in, they were a couple miles back into that subdivision. And now the next subdivision is Twin Buttes. So Twin Buttes is just down the road on your way back into Durango, and they're tucked back a little bit more. So I think you're not gonna hear quite as much, but you're still gonna hear a little bit. A lot of these subdivisions are right off of Highway 160. Now let's head over to the east side of Durango. So there's gonna be a lot of subdivisions right off of Highway 160. And how I'd kind of characterize Highway 160 is there's gonna be a lot more commercial traffic. Now there's not a ton by any means, but you're gonna have more semi-trucks, more, really just semi-trucks in comparison to Highway 550 up north of downtown Durango. And there's a decent amount of subdivisions that are just kind of right on the edge of Highway 160. You just pull right off of 160 and there's maybe a little loop or a one road subdivision, just really small little subdivisions, 5, 10, 15 homes tucked in there, their own HOA. Maybe they have a pond there, maybe they have a few little walking trails, but not a lot of amenities. And so I want to give the example of Three Springs to start with, because that's one of your biggest subdivisions. They're actually not going to hear much traffic at all because you drive back into Three Springs. They've got some great restaurants in there. They've got Home Slice Pizza, they've got Taco Boy, they've got a few commercial buildings in there as well. And then they've got some phenomenal biking access to biking trails right behind Three Springs. So keep that in mind when if you're just learning about Durango for the first time. That's a great spot. Those homes are a little bit closer together, a little bit smaller lot sizes, but those are still great options, beautiful homes, really nicely designed kind of master plan community with some trails throughout. They've got some paved trails throughout as well. And let's talk more about the traffic though. A lot of these subdivisions really all the way up to Bayfield. they're right off of Highway 160. So I just sold my parents a house right off of Highway 160 in that area, and they're on about 4 acres. So a lot of these homes are on a little bit of acreage. So even if you're pretty close to the highway, you're still, that traffic's kind of getting broken up. The noise is getting broken up by that forest, by whatever trees are between you, depending on the subdivision. Some don't have trees, some do. And so it just kind of varies. And again, I want to point out, I'm more than happy to just walk that property for you, walk that subdivision, so you really can hear. Because it's just tough to say like, hey, this one's going to get a lot of noise, this one's not. A lot of these subdivisions right along here are just going to be kind of similar. But my parents really didn't care because of how tucked away the property was from the road, and because of how much that those trees kind of broke up the noise. So keep that in mind in that section. The next area I'm just going to talk about is really in town Durango. Obviously in town, kind of like any town, you're going to hear things like sirens, you're going to hear police cars, ambulances, just more traffic like that. But it's also a very small town, so you're not going to hear constant ambulances going by your property, and it just varies based on where the property is. If you're off East 3rd Ave, for example, or off Main Street, you're going to hear some traffic, you're going to hear a little bit, but it's not like you're hearing a busy street like Highway 160. So it's a little bit different. It just kind of varies. So I really wanted to give you guys that perspective. We went east, north. We didn't really go south. South is fairly similar to kind of that east area where there are a lot of little subdivisions right off of Highway 550. But there are also a lot of subdivisions where they drop down quite a bit near the river, and you really just don't hear any traffic, or it's very, very faint. We recently sold a property, listed and sold a property that drops down from Highway 550, and it's not a far drive. You're maybe a mile, half a mile down from 550, but it's a good amount down that you really don't hear much at all. Again, something different from us versus a lot of cities, like call it Albuquerque or a lot of different cities, is we just got a lot of subdivisions right off of busier streets. So I do think this is really important to keep in mind when you're looking. And the next question I get asked fairly often is, tell me about the subdivisions where I can fence in the yard for my dog. And it's interesting, it's kind of a nuanced question, and the reason for that is there's subdivisions that are on golf communities and just different kind of subdivisions that part of the subdivision you can have a fence and part of the subdivision you can't. My prime example is going to be Dalton Ranch, which is up in the Animas Valley, about 11 to 12 minutes north of downtown Durango. I'm going off memory, so I might be a minute off or so. But that subdivision is really, really stunning subdivision, stunning views. You've got Missionary Ridge across from you. Most of those homes are going to have some view of Missionary Ridge. Really green subdivision with grass. Most of these homes have grass. But there are a decent amount of homes that are on the golf course that don't allow fences, and then a lot of homes that aren't on the golf course that do allow fences. You are allowed to have an electric dog fence on a lot of these properties, and then there are also restrictions on how much fencing you can have. So reach out to me for specific details on any subdivisions for that matter, because there are a lot of other subdivisions that have those similar restrictions. That is the only golf course community that kind of has that specific nuance, if you will. But another subdivision is going to be Edgemont, the Edgemont subdivisions in general. So those are about 11 minutes east of downtown Durango on Florida Road. And those subdivisions allow fences, but it's just a certain amount of fencing you're allowed to have. So I'll show you an example. I'll show you a couple of photos, giving you an example of my parents' house that we sold just recently, where it's a fairly small yard that they were allowed to create with fencing. And they created kind of a dog run off to the side, and then a little fence that kind of went around their covered patio, just to give you an idea. And so that might not be enough fencing for you. You might want a big yard that's fully fenced. And so for that, you're really going to look at subdivisions that either don't have HOAs or are just bigger acreage properties. And another example is going to be the ranch. The ranch is about 12 minutes from downtown Durango in the Animas Valley. And they are a little bit nuanced again, because they've got a lot of properties that are on ponds. There's 26 ponds throughout this subdivision. Really, really stunning, incredible subdivision. And the issue or nuance here is if you're on a pond or on, and I don't want to say specifically on a pond, but most properties that are on ponds cannot have fences. There are a few that are kind of like off to the side that can. There are a few 3-acre lots that can have fences. And then there are properties that back up to their nature preserve. They have a 31-acre nature preserve, backs up to that preserve that can have fences as well. So it kind of varies, and it just depends on where the property is situated. So those are 3 examples for you. It really varies. What I would recommend, again, reach out to me. I'm happy to point out specific subdivisions along with your other criteria, kind of mesh those together and show you, okay, these ones might be best to be able to build a fence or that are already fenced for your dog. So again, reach out to me, give me a call, text, email. I'm a licensed realtor here in Durango. Would love to help you guys with all your real estate needs. Happy to go over that specifically with you or any other kind of nuanced questions that you guys have. Now, I was on a call yesterday with some clients that were watching my YouTube channel, and the first question they asked me, or one of the questions they asked, was where can we buy with really modern, updated homes or new builds? And the first example I'm going to give you is West Dalton Ranch. So this subdivision, if you're not familiar, is about 11 minutes north of downtown Durango in the Animas Valley. And this subdivision is going to have stunning views. You're going to have Missionary Ridge views across from you. This is in a golf course subdivision, and this is a new subdivision. So they are going to have lots that range right around 10,900 square feet. And there's an example I'm going to give you that has a property on the market right now for $1.285 million. And that property already has plans drawn up by classic builders. And you can, of course, work with the builder to kind of customize the home, but they've got plans drawn up that have gone through the architectural committee, have been approved, and are ready to build. And that price, that 1.285 price, includes the lot for $285. And what's nice about that is you already know that those plans have gone through the architectural committee. To give you an idea of the size of that home, that is a 2,090 square foot home, 3-bed, 2.5 bath. And again, that lot size is just under 11,000 square feet. So it kind of gives you an idea of what you can get in that subdivision as a new build, working with the builder on those plans. And those lots are selling really quickly. Most of those lots have already been sold. So again, reach out to me if you would like me to get the drone up in the air, give you an idea of what those views will look like, walk through the lot, give you an idea of those lots. And so that's the first example. There are some other lots in the Animas Valley for sale as well. So you can get in the valley and still build. There's still some lots available. And then if we go over to Edgemont, the Edgemont subdivisions, there's Edgemont Ranch, Edgemont Meadows. Those subdivisions have some great lots as well. They're selling off quick. There's only a few left, but there are some new builds in there as well. And those are much more kind of your mountain modern, if you will. Really nice subdivision. They've got about 10 plus miles of trails going through there. They've got private access to the Florida River. I've got other videos where I talk all about that subdivision specifically. So don't hesitate to reach out if you'd like me to send you that video, kind of guide you to which videos go over subdivisions that you guys are specifically looking at. And as I mentioned before, happy to get the drone up in the air and give you kind of a property tour and subdivision tour of subdivisions that you're looking at. So that's another example. The Edgemont subdivisions over there do have some new builds still. Then in town, you will see some more renovated properties and updated properties. Another subdivision is Twin Buttes. There's one property on the market now. Twin Buttes has some great properties over there. Like I mentioned earlier, you're going to hear a little bit of traffic in there, but not a lot. So just want to kind of give you some idea. Again, reach out to me. We can hop on a Zoom call, kind of go over the map together and look at areas that you specifically like, because there are actually one other area I want to touch on is the south area of Durango. It's called the Mesa. There are a decent number of new builds out that direction. There are some up in that $3 to $5 million price point, and there are some lower, just over $1 million as well. So again, reach out. Happy to kind of go over specifics of what you're looking for. I know I've said that a lot here, but it's really case by case based on what you're looking for. There's some great custom builders in town that I can kind of guide you to as well. A few other things I forgot to mention regarding that West Dalton Ranch lot that is already set up with a builder, with Classique Builder. There's going to be an escalation clause attached to that offer when you sign with them because of the fluctuating building costs. So keep that in mind as well. That's why I sometimes kind of not necessarily try to dissuade people from building, but just really make sure you're aware that that is how it works right now, because fluctuating building costs are just up and down and it's hard to know. So prices could just skyrocket and then you're paying way more than you already expected and you planned. And you know, when you're planning for, okay, I want this type of shower, this type of flooring, this type of kitchen, and then prices just shoot up, it's really tough to budget and understand what you're getting into. Granted, if you got a high budget and you're priced down here, you're kind of safe, but just want to really go over that and make you aware of that for building just in general, that is very common with builders. So another thing is they do require that you go out and walk that lot physically, fly out here, drive out here and walk that lot. Now keep in mind, I'm more than happy to, of course, walk it for you before you come out and do it physically yourself. But that is a requirement for that specific lot. Most of these lots, they don't require it, but I will say in my experience, a lot of listing agents are going to advise their seller if you've walked the lot or seen it in person. And it's just case by case. I've sold a lot of homes where the seller did not walk it prior, and these are $1 to $2 million price points. So it's definitely not necessary, but it does help your chances sometimes if you are able to jump on a flight and get out here, take a look at it, and then the listing agent and the seller actually knows that you've seen the property. Now, one of the other questions I get a lot is the question of insurance. And more specifically, are there subdivisions where it's harder to get insurance or the insurance is a lot more expensive because of fire hazard? Now that answer is definitely yes. Yes and no, because we've also got flood issues as well, flood zones. And the answer to that question is more like, well, there's subdivisions like Edgemont. The Edgemont subdivisions is a great example where there's houses in one spot where the insurance is $3,000 a year, and there's houses 2 houses over where it's $5,000. So it really is interesting, and I've got a great contact, great insurance agent that I've worked with for a while where I can give you his number. You can reach out to him. You just need a few pieces of information, or he just needs a few pieces of information, and then he can get you a quote and give an idea on a specific property. But it's tough to say based on the subdivision itself, insurance is going to be low or high. It's really weird in that way. The subdivision I live in is really close to the Animas River, and they have certain homes, again, that are in the flood zone and certain homes that aren't, that are up a little bit closer to the highway. But it's not easy to say, oh, all the homes right by the river are going to be higher insurance. It's not very black and white. So again, reach out. I'm happy to get you those specific maps and connect you with a great insurance agent. Now, the next question I got just the other day from a girl that's looking at moving here to the downtown Durango area. She really wants to live close to town. Her question was, can I buy a home under $600,000, be fairly close to town, be able to meet people, maybe be able to bike into town? The answer is, at the moment, yes. There still are homes in that price range where you don't need to do a full renovation. This summer, we sold one for just about $615,000 in town. It was off of East 6th Avenue. It was just across the street from the Sky Steps and just walking distance to downtown Durango. To give you an idea of what that home looked like, it was about 1,200 square feet, 3-bed, 2-bath, had a nice little yard. Not a huge yard, not a huge lot, but a nice home. It did need a lot of work. They ended up renovating the majority of the home, just as an example for a home that's in town Durango. There are some homes up north that are kind of in that price range. There's one for $575, right around 1,200 square feet. Needed a little bit of work, but was fairly move-in ready. So again, that's at the time of filming this video. Obviously, the market could go up. We're filming this video in the middle of February of 2024. If you're watching this, a year from now or whatnot. And so it definitely is doable. Something I always recommend too is really kind of try to get creative. If you're open to, hey, I'm open to doing a little bit of work on the property. I'm open to maybe it doesn't have a garage, or maybe it's a 2-bedroom, but I could add a bedroom, or it's just maybe doable to add some equity into it through, sweat equity, putting some work into the property. And then maybe being flexible with the area that you're looking at. So south of town, prices are gonna go down a little bit. Going closer to Bayfield, prices are gonna go down substantially. Really just as you get away from downtown Durango, prices go down. But in town Durango, it's not like they're way higher in town Durango compared to a little bit of ways as well, or away from Durango as well. So it really just varies. And again, reach out to us. We're happy to kind of go through a map tour of what areas might work for you. Another question I got was, are there subdivisions with community centers with pool, pickleball court, walking trails, a gym, just a lot of different amenities that are supporting one specific subdivision? And I know we see these a lot in places like Denver, Houston, Phoenix, places like that, but we really don't have anything specifically like that. However, we do have a community rec center here in Durango. They've got a lot of amenities to offer. So they have a really nice pool. They have a really nice lap pool, diving boards, a high dive, a low dive. They've got a rope swing for kids, really nice kids section. I've got a 1- and 2-year-old son, and we love to bring them there. We're actually taking them there tomorrow. And they've got a really nice gym upstairs. They don't have all the bells and whistles, if you will, in the gym, but they've got just about everything you need as far as free weights, machines. They've also got about 120-yard track that goes around the basketball courts. And then that leads me to the basketball courts. They've also got several racquetball courts. And then regarding pickleball, we are building some pickleball courts right now that are right on the Animas River Trail. So we don't have that rec center specifically in a specific subdivision, but we do have a lot of great amenities that Durango offers. The other thing I want to mention, I'm right here on the Animas River Trail. We've got an incredible river trail, about 9 miles long. They're looking at actually extending it out to the Three Springs subdivision so that it's going to reach out there so you can bike into town from Three Springs. And so I just want to kind of hit on some of those amenities that we do have. There are several subdivisions I want to mention. The Edgemont subdivisions, I know I talk about these a lot, but if you're not aware, they have about 10 plus miles of trails that go throughout. And then there is the Ranch subdivision that is actually up north in the Animas Valley. They have tennis courts, or just one tennis court. They have a basketball court, and then they have some trails, about 1.5 miles worth of trails that go back to the Animas River, and then they have private access to the Animas River. So there are a decent amount of subdivisions that have amenities like that. Like they have a few great amenities. They have some trails, they have access to the river, they have a pond. So we have a lot more outdoor amenities, but we do have some great amenities in town as well. So again, reach out to me specifically if you guys are even thinking about moving here, if you have specific questions around anything we discussed today. And guys, we're more than happy to hop on a Zoom call with you, pull up Google Earth and show you specific areas that might fit what you're looking for. If you're really looking for trails, if you're really looking for water, or just peace and quiet. And if you have any specific questions on this video, happy to go through those with you specifically. Like I mentioned earlier, happy to get the drone up in the air for you and do a property tour or subdivision tour for you. Guys, like I mentioned, I'm a licensed realtor here in Durango in Southwest Colorado. Don't hesitate to reach out. You can call, text, email, days, nights, weekends if you're even thinking about moving here to Durango. Really appreciate you watching. Make sure to subscribe, like this video, and throw in a comment where you guys are watching this video from, where you're moving from. Really appreciate it, and we'll see you soon.